middle of the V-twins when low ET was 678. I thought that was pretty good. Hey Chuck, they had a Harley go a 79, they had a Buell go a 79, they had an EBR go 79, they had a Suzuki go 79, and if I was if I was NHRA, I wouldn't know how to change the rules with all that going on. But hey, David, Mark, Donald. All right, I'm gonna roll in the photo here and see what happens. Wow, look at the lights change when I roll in there. I see right up here I have a light out. I guess that's okay. Hey, we've been here for a long time. And for you guys that asked, I'm gonna turn this down so you can see. Check this out. I got my shark socks on. You know, I just want y'all to know God loves sharks too. Every day I got some kind of cool shot. Every day I get some kind of cool sock. Very thankful. Julie gave me some for my birthday, and Jackie gave me some fully retired socks. They say on there something like do not disturb. Hey George, nice job you guys did this weekend. 196 miles an hour on that four valve, 4-cylinder, which got lots of room left to be developed. So that first try, that was a really great outing for the first try. Anyway, Scotty Polachek. Let's do a shout out for Scotty. Winning his first national event. He made it to 11 finals. He was on our team a long time ago, and he did a great job for us, and he almost won a few times, and he almost won a few times on a Suzuki, almost won a few times on a Buell and an EBR. So it was great to see him finally get his win, and I think just about everybody was proud except for the people he had to outrun. But after they were outrun, I think they were all pulling for him to get his first win. So Derek, Brian Kramer, good grief, y'all ought to look him up and look at his picture and his profile. It's the best looking blue eyes I've seen next to Jackie Bryce on the planet. I ain't talking about yours, Brian. But anyway, a few things I wanted to go over real quick is some new products that I don't want to make this a commercial, but I want to tell you that a couple things that are pretty cool is you may have seen, this is a very universal catch can. It works on so many different machines. It's a really cool part that has, it's got the threaded on part here. You put a screen in here, and you put a piece of foam in here, and then it's threaded, and then it's got a little K&N filter on it. It's very cool. So your breather, crankcase evaporation, crankcase ventilation, oily mist that we don't want to go through our air cleaner or through our throttle body can go in through here. It will stay trapped below here, and when the pressure builds up in here, it can come out through this vent. And we put this anywhere on the motorcycle. This one goes behind the bags, or in between the back tire and the bags on some of the V-twins. But this is a cool little deal for you guys. It has a drain here. It's made in the USA, and it also is already threaded here for these bolts, and it has a barb fitting for you to put your breather hose on. I'm going to show you, I'm going to flip this around right quick and show you on a Milwaukee 8. On a Milwaukee 8, these holes right here in the heads, this is where all the ventilation of this whole big engine comes through these holes. And there's so many ways to handle this, but a lot of folks, the stock air cleaner just gets this breather, comes in, and it goes back into the throttle body, and then as soon as the air goes in the engine, it breathes this crappy stuff right here. Where is it? This gunk goes back through your engine, and it makes your valves all clogged up, it makes your ports all clogged up, and it makes your engine spark knock, because you want clean air going through here, not oily mist that comes out of the crankcase ventilation. Anyway, I'm going to go back to my shape, or go back to me again. I know the Milwaukee 8 engine is probably way prettier to look at, but wow, these lights are kind of weird. Let's let that settle here for a minute, if it will. There you go. All right. Anyway, so that's a cool little deal we sell. You can find out about it. I think it's, I don't know, we sell them probably $120 or something. This is the HPI Milwaukee 8 62 millimeter throttle body. This is the stop cover they put on here so that this, I guess a little bit of air goes through here to cool this motor. This is the motor, the electric motor in here that you plug, that stock Harley plugs into for drive-by-wire. Okay, almost every car is drive-by-wire now, and the motorcycles are drive-by-wire. So this has a motor, and it's not real pretty on the engine. So we made these nice little nylon covers. They're open on the bottom so it can still breathe. But this looks a lot better on the side of your engine than this. You guys might agree. $40 plus shipping, 40-something dollars. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but Monica will tell you when you call. But we keep lots of these, and we keep lots of these. And the other, as far as products are concerned, I wanted to share with you guys this little culprit here. A lot of people use these. This is very popular for the Milwaukee 8s. This is a AIM lockup. It bolts right onto the M8s, and these fingers, they push on the pressure plate to make this clutch tight. So the faster you go, the faster your bike goes, the harder this clutch pulls. But these are so aggressive from when they come. So we put them in the machine, and we mill this weight way down. Every bike we build that you can't handle the clutch slip with springs, we modify these, and the clutch won't ever slip with this. Faster you go, the harder it holds. So when you see M8s are known for blowing up third gear, they're known for breaking compensators. The compensator that goes on the crankshaft, those break off. They're too thin, they're too light, and when you put one of these on your clutch, as soon as you put a 131 kit or a 128 kit or a 124 kit or some kit that you put on your Milwaukee 8, the clutch slips, so people buy this. And as soon as they put this on, all of a sudden, they break parts. So they break the compensator, then they break the transmission, then they break the clutch basket, and they break the belt. That's because they went from a little bit of slip or a lot of slip to never slip. And I want you guys to know this, when the clutch does this, when the clutch is slipping, it is a fuse, just like an electrical fuse. You want to blow your wires up or burn your wires up, you put a bigger fuse in. This makes a big fuse. This stops the clutch slip altogether, so that's not what you want. But that's it for my product stuff today. Now, I want to go over and I want to share some technical stuff, because that's what this is. This is Tech Talk Tuesday. Hey, Richard, Patrick, how you guys? Daryl, Richard, Timothy. All right, this is a Milwaukee 8 bottom end. Mark Smith, hey. Mark Smith, what you want to invest in? That's funny. Hey, Tyler. Jim. Justin. Made in America, baby. Y'all all listen, all y'all people made in America. If you're not made in America, at least probably some of you are Americans. How many of you on here right now are not Americans, but still love America? If you don't love America, you love hot rod Harleys and hot rod engines. David, Daryl, how y'all? All right, so let me show you this idea I got going here. All right, this is a Milwaukee 8 bottom end. All right, I'm stepping out of the picture, and I'm going to turn this for you. And this has rods in it because there's a crank in here. Now, with the cams out, you can see the rod pin. This is a welded crank. You can look in through that hole, and you can see it's welded. It has the center pin is pressed in and welded. GRC builds these cranks for us. That's a very nice weld job. They welded this crank together, okay? Hey, Bruno, Attilio, Lynn, Larry, Caesar. Hi, y'all. I thank you for loving America. That's good. I do, too. But anyway, I want you to see. Now you can see these rods are all the way up because the rod pin's at the top. But look, I want you to know that this is top dead center for the front rod. See where this pin is? This is top dead center for the rear rod. You see where this pin is? So they're 45 degrees apart. So that means this one's top dead center before the center, and this one is top dead center after center. So they're it's two engines that are bolted to one crankshaft. This is a separate engine, this is a separate engine, and they're bolted together with one crankshaft. So that's why we tuned this one different than this one. Now, this is the part that confuses people because they think a Harley goes like this. That's what everybody thinks. V-twin. goes like this, but it doesn't. Watch these rods when the crankshaft goes to the bottom. Watch this. They're gone, both rods. This is all the way down. This is all the way down. So when you think about this, when these pistons are on here, these pistons literally will hit each other when they're this far down. Therefore, when you buy certain kits from certain manufacturers, they'll sell these kits, really big bores, and they will notch the front and the rear so that when these pistons go all the way to the bottom, these pistons hit each other. When you got little bores, like stock bore, they don't hit down at the bottom, and the sleeves don't hit down at the bottom, but these new Milwaukee 8s are so big now that they notch these, all right? Now in my opinion, this is only my opinion, this is the way most of the market does it, and most of the industry does it, but that's not how we do it, okay? What I wanted to show you is, and I'll draw it on the board in a minute to show you, remember, major thrust, minor thrust. Minor thrust, major thrust. Because crankshaft turns this direction. So when the piston's going down under power, its major thrust is on the back of the piston. When this is going around this way and this piston comes down under power, its major thrust is on the back of the piston. So this is going to sound confusing. The front cylinder, the major thrust is on the back of the piston. On the rear cylinder, the major thrust is on the back of the piston. So why do we have two notches together? One's on the major thrust and one's on the minor thrust. And that's just so they'll fit. Okay, if you do a good job blueprinting the engine and building it, you can do it like we do it. As we'll take the front one, and it never hits the rear one because they're not both down at the same time. They're on different sequences, but they're close. They're changing places down here like this, very slightly. But on our rear piston, we have the minor thrust is notched, and on our front piston, the major thrust is not notched. So major thrust means we can handle more stress, more power, and more load. On the rear, the major is also the back of the piston, and it is not notched, so that can handle more load, more stress, and more power on the major thrust of the piston, just like this one. And I'll show you some more about that in a little while. But I wanted to share that with you and also let you get a visual of what's going on with this engine turning and the rods. See how that one's coming up and this one's still down? And it's confusing for people because this is how the timing works. When this engine is going over, turning over in the normal direction of rotation, I hope you can see this okay. We light the spark plug on the rear and then turn around and send it down on the power stroke. And then we light the spark plug on the front one later and then send it down. So we have the rear fires first, then the front fires, then the rear fires, then the front fires, then the rear fires, then the front fires, then the rear fires. So that's why they sound like they do. That's why Harleys sound different than everybody else, because they have a common crank pin. Some of the V-twin copies that the metric people have done, they have them on two different pins or offset pins, trying to get that match, but nobody's done it yet. So they've been this way since 1903. Are the piston skirts more suspect to collapsing with the notch? Well, yeah, on the major thrust side, it will be. Okay, I'm going to go to the board now, and I'll show you more about it. Also, I want to tell you guys, guess what? Tech Talk 58. Tech Talk 58. Isn't that amazing? Tech Talk Tuesday with GB3 number 58. Wow, who would have thought we'd have made it that far? Okay. I'm going to let you look at that for a quick second, and I'm going to explain. Just like what you saw earlier, crankshaft rotates this way. Can y'all see this okay? Can I get somebody to say they see me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? I got grease on. What I got assembly lube and grease all over my hands, so I'm going to try and do this a little better. All right, I saw a few thumbs up coming up. I expect to get some words here in a minute. Okay, all right. Please understand that when all the power, let's say you spend a lot of money to get your cylinder heads to flow a lot of air, and you put good compression, and you put really nice camshaft in it, and it is really making some power. Thank you, Roger and Larry and Eric. Let's say it's making a lot of power, okay? So let's say the piston is here. It's going down on the power stroke, and we have tons and tons and tons of pressure. Remember, I drew that crankshaft in the wrong place. It goes right here. And then that's what the flywheel looks like. It's big. See, this is a see-through engine, okay? All right, so this is the center pin, and this, on the power stroke, the rod pin is here. And this rod looks like this, okay? Now think about this. When this stress, when this pressure, 1,000 PSI comes down and pushes on top of this piston, it is trying to shove this piston out the back of the cylinder. There is very little stress on the front of this piston because the pressure is going down, and the piston does not, the rod doesn't want to turn, the crank doesn't want to turn, so the piston's trying to deflect this way. So this is called the major thrust area right here. This is called the minor thrust area. Now at the same time, remember this piston's down here, and this connecting rod is over here now. Just so you know, that's how it looks. All right, let's turn over to the back cylinder and do the same thing. Let's put this piston under its power stroke. Now the rod pin is here on the power stroke on the rear. So this rod looks like the same angle as the back one was. Piston pressure's going down because you ported your heads. You got a lot of money's worth of airflow, big valves, big cams, and compression. And you've got fire coil wires, and you've got best of everything. And this pressure is blowing down on this piston, and it's trying to turn this crankshaft this direction. And it also is trying to shove this piston out the back of this cylinder, just like on the front, out the back of the cylinder. So this is the major thrust, and this is the minor thrust. Always that way. Pretend this is a V8, and we're looking at the front. There's 4 cylinders in a row, 4 cylinders in a row. So a V8 is the same thing. This is on the lifter valley side, it's a major thrust. On the exhaust side, passenger side of a V8, the exhaust side is the major thrust. The valley side is the minor thrust. On a V8, the driver's side, in America, of course, we're American, I'm talking about in America, the driver's side has the minor thrust is on the exhaust side, and the major thrust is on the lifter or the intake side. Go get the pistons again. Coming right back. Now we're going to make this engine really big. Put big bore in it. Put a 4.5 bore in it. Now, like a 143 engine, a 2-valve or a 4-valve, an early twin cam or a Milwaukee 8, they have these big pistons, and when the crank rod pin gets to the bottom, Both pistons are at the bottom. They are, the word I use is they are clanking. These pistons are clanking. Remember, it's a 45-degree V-twin. V8s are 90 degrees. A V8, the pistons and cylinders are so far apart. They're like the driver's side's over here and the passenger side's over here, so the pistons don't get that close to each other. But on a 45-degree V-twin, when you stand these cylinders up like a 45, when these go down, they clank, okay? Now, the front, this is really bad because this is the major thrust side. This is the major thrust. So this front piston doesn't hold up well. It doesn't handle the pressure well. It doesn't handle the power well because their skirt's gone. On the rear piston, it's okay because the major thrust is full and the minor thrust is notched. So the front one creates more heat and makes less power than the rear one, even though they're both notched. Can that make any sense to you guys? Now what we do here, and we learned it in the Pro Stock engine. We learned it in the Pro Stock engine because we were running 5.125 bore. Think about that. 5.125 bore. That's way bigger than this. That's way bigger than this. We ran the front piston, full skirt both sides. The front piston, the major thrust on the front piston, the major thrust of the front piston could handle all the pressure we could give it because it had a nice full skirt that could distribute the power, the heat, and all the pressure. Our rear piston, sorry, don't let me confuse you, is notched. But if you'll look again, you'll see that the minor thrust is the front and the major thrust is the rear. So the rear of the front piston and the rear of the back piston is a major thrust because of the rotation and the pressure's trying to push the piston out the back of both cylinders. So this is inconsequential. So if we were to do this, we sell a 143 repair kit and we sell a 124 repair kit for the twin cam engines. And what we do is we build this with only one notch, and that's on the rear piston. And our front piston has the rear notch, looks like this, which means we can handle major thrust with a full skirt, and on the back we can handle full pressure with a full skirt. Okay, that's enough noise about that. I promised I would land the plane eventually, and there it is. So, people ask me all the time, if I want to outrun my buddies, where do I shift my motorcycle? Well, let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to sit down too. I've been standing up on the concrete floor all day, and I want to share this with you. This is a quick dyno sheet of a stock 107. It had Vance & Hines power duals right here, and it had a stock cam, and it made 81 horsepower, and it made peak power at 4,600, and it made peak torque at 3,500. All right, so you can see it on this graph. Here's the peak horsepower stock. It's about 4,500, and here's the peak torque. It's about 3,500. That's where the stocker made the most power, torque power, and the most horsepower. So on a stock Milwaukee 8, a 107, if you were to go race somebody with it and you wanted to go your quickest time or you wanted to outrun your buddies, you would shift it just past peak. You would shift it at about 5,000 RPM, so it would come back just under 4,000. So you'd go 3,800, 5,000, 3,800, 5,000. And your area under the curve, you would use the most area under the curve. So if you shift here, come back here. Shift here, you come back here. And you use the most area under the curve. Now, since we put our 30/30 cam in it and a D&D pipe, we jacked it up from 81 horsepower to 107. And instead of it being peak power at 4,700, it's peak power at 5,900. And you say, well, wow, I don't want that much top end power. I want some torque. Well, it also went from 102 foot-pounds at 3,500. It went to 117 foot-pounds at only 2,900. So this combination of the 2-in-1 pipe from D&D and the 30/30 cam moved our horsepower peak this way and it moved our torque peak this way, which is a beautiful thing, because if you're going to drive around and run between 25 and 3,500, look how much torque you got more with a 2-in-1 and a 30-30 cam versus the duals. The true duals almost always have this dip right here. And this dip is from the exhaust tuning and poor intake and poor dyno tuning. So this power curve here is where you drive around, and when you're racing your buddies or you're going to the track and you want to lay out your best time, you're going to shift at 6,000 RPM, and you're going to come back to 4,800, 6,000, 4,800. So if you average, you're going to have this much power you're going to have so much more power average through all your gears at the drag strip that you're going to go 0.2 quicker than you would if you were using only this power curve. As you can see, it's below 80 horse, and this one's all over 100. So if you were to shift this at 6,000, you would come back to 100 horsepower, and the stocker never made it to 100. So it's always 20 horsepower better. No matter what the dyno peak says, you do this 5 times going through 5 gears in a quarter mile. So you're going to average 20, 25 more horsepower in every gear, y'all. That's several bike lengths per gear. Okay, I'm gonna switch back. I'm gonna talk to you guys for a minute. I'm gonna tell you something. I want to tell y'all, thank y'all for watching this. Like I said, Tech Talk number 58. It's a blessing for you guys to be on here and looking at me, talking to me, and sending me these questions. Send me questions. Email me, george@starracing.com. The Facebook page for Star is Star Power. I have my own George Bryce page, and I also have Instagram is George Bryce Star, and I put a lot of ads and a lot of information and a lot of technical stuff. And my fingernails are dirty because I've been working it over pretty hard, and I'm very thankful for the opportunities. I'm 66 years old Sunday. Woo! I'm gonna have Tech Talk bigger than my age soon. But again, look, my time's up. I'm thankful. I appreciate you guys. Always send me comments, send me questions, send me suggestions. And I get this information from you guys, okay? Thank y'all for offering up these questions and this info. God bless y'all. I love y'all. Thank you so much. It's from the bottom of my heart. Take care of each other. Amen.